Welcome back. It's the next day after we shot the last video, also known as Sunday, December 21st, 2025. We're into the evening hours of the day, and it's got to be in the low 20s. It's just brutally cold. It's fun. It's fun. What we spent most of our afternoon doing was checking out a marketplace deal. Here's how we're going to fix the whole missing passenger seat thing. Rather than trying to find something new, I found a guy selling both front seats for 50 bucks. When you see them, you'll see why. But you know what? They're solid.
Yeah.
Let's get these unloaded.
Yeah. These are really heavy. Seats are heavy. That's what they're made for. One seat. If you could leave this flat as a Jeep.
Okay, so this is our passenger seat.
Yeah.
It's honestly in really good shape.
Yeah. I agree.
It came already installed on the base. Barely any rust on anything. The material's in good shape. It even says Jeep right there in the back, just in case you forgot what we're working on.
Yeah.
Now,
Jeep.
the driver's seat is looking a little rougher. There's my riser or base that I brought with me just for comparison's sake. But this guy was a frequent Taco Bell customer or something. That seat has seen some things, but they were sold as a pair, so even though I just needed the one. Does this match the other one? Only insofar as it's gray and it's a Jeep seat. It's a little different, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm a little different. This Jeep's a little different. Are you a little different, buddy?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. All right. Well, let's get this over here.
Let's get this seat. You guys should definitely like and subscribe to Trash and Treasure Green Garage.
That's nicer than a driver's seat. Well, there it is. A Jeep seat in a Jeep.
Yep. Well, it's not welded on.
There's not really too much to show here because we're working down in the depths, but got my 4 bolts that I took off yesterday. I'm going to hit these with some anti-seize just to help keep them from rusting so that they're a little easier to take out, because I'm sure I'm going to be doing something later with this floor.
Yeah.
Whether I'm simply cleaning or if we bedline it or decide to put carpet back in it. One way or another, I'm sure that this is not this seat's final time being installed in this fine Jeep. So we're just going to get all 4 bolts started in their holes, and then I'll be right back with you to show you the final result.
Yeah, it's going to look great, guys.
So there's our finished product. Grayson's coming around to give us a product demo. Go ahead, jump in there.
Okay, let's see if it works.
How's that? Nice and comfy?
Yeah.
How about the recline? Does it recline? Pull that lever by your right hand.
This one?
Your other right hand. The one that's on the side of the seat. Look down the side of the seat. Other side. Your right side. See that lever?
Yeah. Right here?
Yep. Up on the top.
Right here?
Right there. Yep. Pull that lever up and then lean back. No? Okay. We'll have to work on that. Alright, go ahead, jump out.
Well, at least you get comfy in this Jeep.
Ah, that looks good. I wish you had both that matched. Alright,
Yeah.
come on, jump out.
But we do have some that match. We do have one that match over there.
You see the lever under that lever?
Yeah.
Pull that up. And now push the whole seat forward. A little too much for you?
Yeah.
Here, you video.
Okay.
Don't put your hand in front of the lens, though.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. So we've got
Now my dad's gonna be in the video.
flip forward here for people to be able to get into the back seat.
Yeah.
That was all rusted shut on the other seat. That's the recline one.
Yep. So you
The
can.
recline works. It's a fully tested and functional product.
Yep. So you can lean the seat forward, and then you can hop in the back, but the back seat's a little, the back seat can go down, so we have more, trunk.
Yeah, the back is full of stuff right now, so
Yeah.
that's a future improvement. On today's episode, we've got a project I've been waiting to get into for some time now. All my brake lines, which look tiny in the box, but is that going to be a fun job to put them on the Jeep. We've got all the hard lines. I have a new master. I have all new soft lines going on as well. Throughout the course of today's video, you may hear 125 cc's of Chinese Fury. I mentioned in another video that I was working on a surprise. Here comes Grayson, absolutely ripping in his new to him off-road go-kart. If I cared about my yard, I would be devastated. But he is having the time of his life on that thing these last few days. We're in that period between Christmas and New Year's where I think it's something like the 27th of December, 2025. I'm sleeping too much. I'm drinking too much coffee. I'm eating too many carbs. Here it comes again. I love it. I wish I had one when I was a kid. Let's get into this Jeep. The general theory we're going to be subscribing to here is live and let live. All right, these are metal tubes. It's not hard to judge the condition. We're looking at the right rear wheel at this point, and that looks just fine. Move the light so you can see this here. There is no appreciable rust on that. Go over the differential here. There's no appreciable rust. Everything looks okay. As long as it comes off of this side of that soft line, which is getting replaced, I'm not too inclined to change that one. This one, however, there's no rust on the line, but whether it was yours truly loading this in the dark or somebody before me, it looks like someone threw a trailer strap over that and tightened it down and bent the line. We'll replace that. That's like the easiest one on the whole vehicle to do too, which is nice. It just comes around here and then goes straight to that wheel cylinder. So I think we'll start right there. All right, first line came off, no problem. There it is, chilling on the hoist. I've got this one completely separated. Now what we have here, this is our soft line that runs. You can kind of almost see the end of it there with a very crunchy brake line attached to it. What we have here though, this is the vent for the axle. And I can tell you that this is probably an original line because this clamp right here is a one-time use clamp that they install at the factory. So you have served well, original soft line from 1993, but it is time to replace you. Once I take that line off, there's a fitting there that has, I think, a 1/2 inch nut on it. You unscrew that, the hard line comes off the axle, and then we're probably just going to be breaking it off that side because I don't see any of that unscrewing. And well, I've got all new lines, so who cares? I just barely took the clip, or I took the clip off of this hard line and just barely touched it, and the fitting snapped off, or the line snapped off almost flush with the fitting there. Oh, for reference, this used to sit right here. Oh, that was gonna break as soon as we stepped on the brakes. Well, this line is the same one that runs around all of that fun spaghetti mess right there, and is also the original leak that I found just on the other side right there. You can see it looks like something from the time of the dinosaurs walking the earth. Oh, that's why we're doing this. More taken apart. Alright, so lighting under here is terrible, and for that I apologize, but here is where we are at. We got my new soft line in. Well, not all the way in, it's kind of dingle-dangling there. I did buy the longer one. There's two options when you order these things. You can either get standard suspension or raised suspension, and this guy's got a little bit of a lift on it. Not much, but a little bit. And I figured the longer line isn't going to hurt. It's just going to, it goes right up in here, so it's just going to loop a little bit. It's maybe a little too long. It had a standard length one on it before, so whatever. For the $63 I paid for these pre-bent lines, I really couldn't be happier. This kit is working just fine. I did go back on my previous word and decided to change this side out as well, because, like, why not? I know the old one was working okay, but this has the spiral stuff on it that helps protect the line. Let me duck around the other side here and show you this a little closer. So you can see that comes around, bends around the spring, goes under this little guard, goes up over the pumpkin, which you can't see because the gas tank's in the way of the phone. There's our new soft line. Well, what you're seeing is the vent line for the diff, but it's our distribution block kind of for the rear brakes. And then that one goes over and to that wheel. These are fitting pretty good. I had to tweak them a little bit, but for $63, I really couldn't be happier. The challenge, of course, now lies in this line that is kind of just roughly sitting here. This end of it has to come all the way up behind this, where the shock mounts follow these other lines around and then end up meeting up with that soft line there. But this is one solid line that goes all the way down the frame. Between the transfer case and the frame there. Comes out over here, follows along in these brackets, and then turns and goes all the way up to the proportioning valve up there. This line is probably put on before a lot of other stuff that's currently on the Jeep, so it's going to be a project to try to route this sucker. Well, this turned into kind of a two hands and profanity situation, so I didn't record a lot of it, but this line, this hard line running to the back here, I would rather willingly piss off 50 Cent than do this job again. I'm just kidding, it wasn't that bad, but getting it around this shock tower, and hang on, let me go show you the other side. So this is looking in through the wheel well. Getting it around all this, there's the line right there in the back. Getting it around that, getting it routed between the appropriate lines, getting it to exactly the right spot back here was just an absolute pain in the neck. And because that sucker's so long, I had to drop this guy, which actually gave me a chance to replace the mount, which it's the one shiny thing back there. Yeah, you're able to see it. But this line runs all the way along the frame on the other side of this. There it is again. Of course, these plastic things just didn't want to hold the new line, so a couple zip ties. There's where I cut the old line. And now I'm about to set the Jeep down and trace this thing up here and get it in the right spot. Alright, Jeep is down on the ground, we're under the hood. I've got the reservoir here out of the way. So now I've got my lines coming off of my proportioning valve. This should be the one that I need to remove. My new line came up right here, which of course put it on the wrong side of the steering shaft, which is probably going to be easier to unbolt the steering shaft than to try to manipulate that line. Let's see what size these guys are and work on getting them out. Or at least the one we're starting with. I have a feeling that the one for the passenger side front brake is like real fun. So I think it runs all the way up under the frame cover and everything up here. Alright, looks like it's a 1/2 inch. Alright, this is a 1/2 inch line running to the back. And boy, is it on there. Alright, I may need to get a pair of channel locks to hold that proportioning valve so I don't destroy it in the process here. It's just gonna break. Yeah, let's see what we can destroy by making things too hot. Aiming that right at the fuel lines, by the way. Okay. Plan B? Plan B. So plan B is where you put a pair of cutters on the line, obliterate the thing. Oh, I scratched my cold air intake with it. Obliterate the thing. Now you can put a socket over it, and it's not going to slip with a 6-point socket on it. There it goes. I always say, I don't know what it's going to take to win. I'm going to win. I might destroy everything in the process, but I'll win. And there it is. Looking beautiful. Okay, you need to come out. There's what's left of that old line. Place it carefully over there on the floor. And this new one, quite unfortunately, is just not going to cooperate with being in the correct spot here, is it? Can I get it around the steering shaft? Be cooler if I could. I don't want to unbolt that sucker if I don't need to. There we go. Okay. That comes around there. These are like almost bent right. Man, don't get me wrong, for the price I paid, they're great. But if they were just a little bit closer to fitting exactly the way they were supposed to, I would be so happy. Especially when it comes to delicate threads in aluminum. And this thing being slightly off, all it takes is just a little bit to cross thread it. Then you're fighting that battle. Is that it? Oh, it's threading. It's a threading. Alright, I'll leave that a little loose. Dive right in front of the camera and try to get it bent exactly the way I need it down here by the frame. Sucker's almost like it's a little too long. Okay, it is successfully installed in the clip. It's missing everything else up here. I can tighten it up, and the rear brakes are done. And of course, the fitting is a slightly different size on the new line versus the old, because why wouldn't it be? Oh, that's 14 millimeters. The old fitting was 13 millimeters. The new one is a very snug 14. Maybe it's 9/16. I don't know. The 14 will tighten it though. The snugger the better, especially if you're not using the proper line wrenches. Okay, that's on. And now we're at a crossroads. Time to evaluate these front brakes. Here's the one I'm a little concerned about. Right down there is the end of the hard line for the passenger side front. That line then runs up, disappears under the under this trim piece here. It then goes under this plastic cover all the way across the front. You can kind of see it poking out right there where it passes under the grill. And then if I go back here, I can't really see it right there. It is, come on, focus. Focus. There it goes. You could, oh, it focused for a second. You can kind of see it, yep, right there. The second camera just doesn't want you to see it. Let's try a different angle. There it is. It comes around inside on the driver's side, then comes over, disappears there, and goes to one of these positions up here in the front. So I'm just a little leery of fighting that thing, but I think it must be done. All right, I've got a few minutes here. Rather, we're going to make a little detour while the fittings on the front brakes soak in some PB Blaster, and we'll go ahead and get the new master cylinder bench bled. So in order to do that, I've got it clamped in the vise. They come with these little plastic caps that you're supposed to thread in here just hand tight into each fitting. It helps if you drop it on the bench and lose track of it. There it is. Thankfully, this bench is nice and clean, so it's easy to find things when you drop them. We'll get these guys threaded in here. Come on. Theoretically, we're going to get these guys threaded in here. These caps don't seem to be the right size. Oh, no, there we go. So with these being plastic threads, you just want to do it by hand. You kind of tighten it right up until it feels like it wants to start stripping, and then stop. So the whole point of bench bleeding is that we've got a reservoir here, but what's underneath that is a piston that travels in a cylinder. All right, and during normal operation of your brakes, that cylinder is full of fluid. So when you step on the brake pedal, it pushes in this piston, which pushes fluid through that cylinder and out through the lines, and then out into the braking system, which is what puts your pads into your rotors or your shoes tighter to your drums. And air, of course, in a brake system is a bad thing. Air compresses, liquid does not. So what we want to do is, before we put this on the vehicle, we want to get all of the air out of that piston. So we're just going to need a different implement there. I'll just turn that around. So just using like 1-inch strokes on this. You can see the air bubbles coming up into the cylinder. We want to do this until that stops. Once that stops and it becomes very hard to compress, we know that we're about ready to go put it on the vehicle. Now, when you're replacing an entire brake system like this, it's going to get bled one way or the other. But, having the head start of getting all the air out of this while it's on the bench, it's less air you're going to immediately push into the system. So why do it? Why introduce air that we don't need to? So I'm going to finish bleeding this, and then we'll go see about getting those bolts that hold the soft lines onto the Jeep frame to turn, because they're looking a little like they're ready to argue. I'm just as surprised as both of you watching this video that this Torx screw came out. It goes through, there's the hole in the frame, but there's the bracket on the soft line that holds on. I was expecting that to just immediately strip and thought I'd be spending the next 2 hours trying to figure out how to fix it. But there we go. Let's move on and get the soft line replaced and get the new hard line running up to this driver's front corner, that is. I asked the question a little bit earlier. How bad can a $63 brake line set off of eBay be? AKA the cheapest one available for this Jeep. The answer's bad. His front lines didn't match up with anything at all. I wound up with some bends that I'm really not proud of, having to redo a bunch of stuff, but it's all together. Let's get into changing the master. I may have cheated a little and cut the lines off of the proportioning valve there, knowing that they were going to fight. Now I can just get sockets on them, cut them off, and take them off, and then put the new ones on. Just there. That's it. There we go. Alright, we keep making this Jeep shinier and shinier. It needs to stop already. Oh, these better just fit. My sense of humor is rapidly diminishing. Of course they don't. They're nowhere near being right. At least the fittings are the right size. That's about the only nice thing I have to say about this kid. This intake pipe has to come out of the way. It's like I did backwards. How would I try to get them out first? Well, that's ugly, but I guess it'll work. I don't like it one bit. Oh, let's see how bad the front looks. Lesson learned, and please learn the lesson from me if you're watching this video. Don't buy a cheap brake line kit on eBay. It gave me a head start on some things, but at the end of the day, I would have been much, much better off to just make all of these lines myself. I probably would have saved myself a bunch of work because I would have only been replacing the bad ones. Although I suppose, to be absolutely fair with this Jeep, there were a number of lines I didn't realize were bad until I touched them, and then they fell right apart in my hand, so I guess it's not the worst thing that I wound up replacing all of them. I just would have been happier with a slightly lower level of pain throughout the process. Let's see what this one looks like. tighten this up and come what may. I may shop for some different lines for these. That's pretty ugly. Or just make my own. Wish I'd have known these were going to be that bad before I cut the old ones. I could have shown them a little more patience. Where did my pliers fall to? Right over there. Alright. Moment of truth. I'm sure what I'm about to discover is that I don't have enough brake fluid to do this job. That's fine. Alright, let's show that I've learned a lesson from a previous video. Put the cap on before I pump the pedal. That was a mess. Okay, pumped it a bunch. Is it raining? No. What do we look like up here? Oh, you know, there's some air coming through. That's good, I think. My next step here will be to get this up, start cracking bleeders loose. We'll let it gravity bleed for a bit and then get some help from the family here bleeding the brakes. Alright, let's try something stupid. Oh, it's a couple of days later. Sorry about that. The holidays kind of got in the way of things. But I am just about to pull out of my driveway, driving one 1993 Jeep Wrangler that sat on the brink of being in a junkyard for Lord knows how many years. Came to me with a engine that was all sorts of messed up and taken apart. No brakes. Seats that were rusting off the frames and were about to snap in half when you sat in them. It still has a host of problems. Namely, right now I have no heat, no defrost because the blower motor doesn't work. Somehow the heater core doesn't leak. That's pretty cool. But hey, you know what? Here I am, rolling down the street I live on, watching it snow. And you might want to grab a still from this video and make it into like a postcard, or I don't know, maybe this could be like the start of a Hallmark movie. You know, I'm just rolling into the small town I live in, driving my old Jeep, and all of a sudden, you know, there's an old high school buddy, and you know how the plot of these things go. But hey, you know what? I just made it like a quarter mile to the end of the street. I'm going to go ahead and turn around here because I'm already straddling a fine line between crazy and stupid. But, you know, all this to tell you, the brakes are working. Maybe they're not that great. Oh shit, we're doing a donut. Whee! Sorry, officer. All right. So, it successfully came out of four-wheel drive. And you know what? It doesn't drive that bad. Even on these old cracked up tires that probably have about 15 psi in them combined, they're so cracked and bad I didn't even really want to bother. I've got another set I'll be putting on at some point, but you know what? I've been through the first 4 gears. I'm kind of lugging it at this point. Let's go back to third. I've been through the first 4 gears. The trans shift's fine. It rides okay for a Jeep. We've got some kind of funky grinding and clunking noises, but that's fine. That reminds me that it doesn't have a radio, and I'm going to need to go ahead and put one of those in it. But hey, this is amazing. Who'd have thought that this is where we'd end up? Sorry, I didn't capture a lot of footage on the brake lines, and those things fought me, and it was like working in small spaces, working in yeah, just nasty conditions, brake fluid going everywhere. There was a little bit of blood, a little bit of tears. If it was warmer, there'd have been sweat. You know, it didn't lend itself to good cinematography. So sorry about that, but every brake line on this vehicle has been replaced. You know, even the ones that didn't fit were threatened until they did. So where are we now? Right, I've still got some work to do on the transfer case. That's got a nasty leak. It's probably low. I probably should have checked that before I drove it. The interior needs a ton of work. If you can see, I got parts bouncing around behind me. I'm missing half my dash gauges, the aforementioned radio. I need to get a blower motor in it. But really, we're kind of down to, like, dare I say, almost some non-essential things. I did see a split boot on a tie rod end. I haven't shaken the front end down yet, so I'm sure I'll find something there. It drove okay, so it couldn't be that bad. I know we need a couple of U-joints. I saw one that's pretty bad in one of the front axle shafts. There's a little play in one at the transfer case end of the rear drive shaft, but yeah, this is normal maintenance kind of stuff at this point. I mean, by all rights, I think we're at a point where we can consider this vehicle resurrected. Man, thank you so much for your support. You know, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep making videos on this, but it may slow down a little bit simply because I'm not going to do much with it this winter. The only reason I just drove it on the road right now is because it rained for the last 2 days and then it snowed today, and I can tell they haven't plowed it yet, so it washed the salt off, and I just couldn't wait. I had to give it a try. But, you know, it's probably going to sit around a lot for the rest of the winter while I pick away at some little things and maybe get started on some other projects. Because really, you know, like I said in the first couple videos, the right way to enjoy a Wrangler, especially an older one like this, is with the top and the doors off of it. There's better stuff to drive through the snow. And why run it through the salt if I don't have to? So this is probably going to stick around for a while. I tend to hoard projects, so my bad. But I love these old Jeeps. I'm going to hang on to this one for a bit, and we'll see what we do with it. I'd love to get the interior fixed up. I'd love to get it cleaned up a little bit more, get some nice tires and wheels and stuff on it, and just cruise it around with the top and the doors off and enjoy the vibes. I mean, that's kind of what they're for. You know, I live in Michigan. I'm just a couple hours from the sand dunes. I've been out there a ton with other vehicles. It'd be fun to get this thing out there, although a YJ with leaps at all 4 corners will definitely keep you wide awake going through the sand dunes. I really like my long-armed Grand Cherokee for that. You can sip your coffee while you hit the whoops driving that thing. So that's kind of the vehicle of choice, but it's still not a Wrangler. It's still fun to take the top and the doors off and let the wind whip through your hair. So happy to hear your ideas for what I should do with this next in the comments. You know, we've already got a little bit of a lift. I think it's a 2 or 3 inch spring lift. It looks like it was done right. You know, the body's left alone. Actually, I got some body mounts to do as well, which I hear can be super fun on these if the captive nuts break loose inside the channels that they're hidden in, and then you're cutting holes in the floor to get them. But I got rubber deteriorating on a couple of the body mounts, so we're going to have to address that at some point. But you know, I'm pretty happy with the lift that's on it. It's running a 32 by 1150 right now. I honestly might consider going to a 31 1050. I think it might fit it a little bit better, and the difference for how I'm planning on using this is really not all that significant. So I don't know. We'll see. Thank you again so much for watching, for your support of the channel. This has been a great adventure, and looking forward to kicking off the next project, and hope I can capture a few more subscribers in the process. For those of you who have subscribed, thank you. For those of you who are watching my videos, please interact with them as much as possible. Watch the whole thing, like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends if you're so inclined. It all really helps with the algorithm. So once again, thank you, and we'll catch you next time. Bye now.